This is the Louie T Network.
So you're just going to watch me and not watch TV. Look, after the nonsense you had to put up with on Monday Night Football, Vikings, Giants, you know what? Go ahead and watch me. Go ahead and watch me. Don't watch TV. Watch me. And yeah, I'm on TV, so go ahead and continue to watch me. Because that nonsense that you had to put up with, I had to put up with, and everyone else had to put up with, absolutely unacceptable. Welcome to the program. I am your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me here on Pro Football Central Weekly, the Week 8 edition. A lot of things to get to, so I won't waste any time. Let's recap week number 7. And let's start with that Monday night nonsense that we had to put up with. Giants hosting the Minnesota Vikings. This was a forgettable game. And I tell you what, this was a tough one to watch. And I had talked so much about Josh Freeman on this very program. I've talked about him probably 5 or 6 consecutive episodes and his whole saga in Tampa Bay and him finding a new home in Minnesota and being anxious to see what he was going to do on Monday Night Football. I thought they needed to give him a chance to start. They did. I talked about it. And what we got out of Josh Freeman was absolutely, unequivocally garbage, hot trash. And I couldn't have been more disappointed with Josh Freeman because, look, I know you don't have a lot of knowledge of this playbook. I know that it's very limited in what you can do. But guys were open. Okay, open is open in the National Football League. And when you get a guy open, you got to hit him. He was erratic as you can get. He was missing guys high. He was missing guys low. He was missing guys too far to the left, too far to the right. You name it, he did it in this football game. Everything except completing passes. And so he ended up with a concussion. He's not going to start most likely in week number 8. So I really don't know what will become of him in Minnesota. I haven't given up on him in Minnesota, but that was a pitiful performance on Monday Night Football. Giants get their first win of the season. So you look at some of the big matchups of week number 7. None bigger than the war of 1812, Manning versus Luck, new versus old. It lived up to the billing. It lived up to the hype. Manning and company fell short of going to 7-0 on the season. They fall to the Indianapolis Colts. Big win for the Colts. Again, didn't see that one coming. This is a really good football team, and I think the takeaway from this game shouldn't be that this Denver Broncos defense isn't all that. Shouldn't be that Peyton Manning wasn't able to get it done on the road. It should be that this Indianapolis Colts team, this team is extremely good, okay? Cannot be slept on in this 2013 season. They're at home. They're a dangerous team. The crowd gets involved. Robert Mathis, 11.5 sacks. He's getting after your quarterback. You're turning the football over. This is a dangerous football team, folks. Get used to the name, the Indianapolis Colts. They're not going away anytime soon. You look at another matchup that was a little bit closer than I thought it was going to be. The Kansas City Chiefs, your only unbeaten team left, last man standing in the National Football League at 7-0, able to get the victory at home versus the Houston Texans. Speaking of the Houston Texans, Case Keenum showed well in that game. So now the question asks, do you need to go back to Matt Schaub? I was talking to a viewer of the show, and he was talking about him being better than Tyler Jonathan Yates. Forget about TJ Yates. I'm not even talking about him anymore. He's an afterthought. Either you go back to Schaub or you keep Keenum in the game. To me, you don't need to go back to Schaub. You know what Matt Schaub is. He's not the future. Case Keenum could be your future. You don't know if he is or he isn't. So you need to find out. So I say you keep him in the game and you continue to move forward with Case Keenum and see what this guy has. I was thoroughly impressed with what he was able to do on the road against a very good, a great Kansas City Chiefs defense. On the road, we know about the stadium and them setting the record for loudest stadium and breaking the sound barrier and all that stuff. He went to Kansas City and performed like a 10-year vet. And so I want to see more. I don't know about you. I want to see more of Case Keenum, but they didn't get it done. They lost 17-16 in a very competitive football game. Very good, actually. Chiefs remain unbeaten, and now they have the Cleveland Browns. Looks like they'll be probably going to 8-0 on the season. Speaking of the Cleveland Browns, they go to Green Bay, get dismantled. But out of that game, we learned that Brandon Weeden has been benched in favor of Jason Campbell. So to me, you're going from bad to marginal, or worse to bad. You can call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, you're not going to win because of your quarterback position in Cleveland. I've already said this. I'll say it one last time and then I'll leave it alone. I feel bad for the fans of Cleveland because this season could have been something special. If Brian Hoyer isn't injured, if Billy Ho stays around, maybe, just maybe, you could have made some hay in the AFC North division this season. It's wide open. Now you're being reduced to being the Cleveland Browns. And now you're back to being the Cleveland Browns that play at the factory of sadness. And yeah, it's a very, very tough situation to swallow if you are a Cleveland Browns fan, because you had hope. Just 3 weeks ago, there was so much optimism in Cleveland. Hoyer goes down, and all of a sudden you're back to square one in Cleveland. Tough break for the Browns. Now you're on to the Jason Campbell experiment. Good luck with that. Many have tried. Many have failed. Good luck, Cleveland Browns. So you look at another matchup, and this was a really big matchup in the NFC East. Cowboys, Eagles, both teams coming into the game at 3-3. Cowboys take care of business on the road. They injure Nicholas Foles in the process, win the football game 17-3 due to the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles struggled in this game on offense, couldn't get it going. The Cowboys weren't that much better, but they did enough to win. Cowboys now are 4-3 on the season and have taken sole possession of first place. You look at another big game with playoff implications, possibly in him. Redskins get it done against the Chicago Bears. A big game for the Skins. They had to have it if they wanted to keep their season alive, essentially. To go to 1-5 at this point would be almost a death sentence. To get that win was huge for the Redskins. A tough loss for the Chicago Bears, and this loss means a little bit more, and I'll talk about some injuries from week number 7. There were a lot of them, plenty of injuries. We'll talk about those here shortly, but Bears aren't able to get it done. Cutler doesn't finish the game. Josh McCown comes in, plays a whale of a ball game, but they fall short 45-41. Redskins get the victory. So Bears drop to 4-3. That opens the door for the Detroit Lions. What were they able to accomplish in week number 7 at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals? Nothing, because the Cincinnati Bengals showed up and they played a whale of a ball game. Big ball game from Andy Dalton. And this guy's been catching a lot of flack. A lot of people have been calling him out and saying that the Bengals will never be the team that they could be because they're being held back by the quarterback position. I don't believe that for 1 second. Andy Dalton played his heart out in this game. And if he can play like this more consistently, this is going to be a dangerous team. And not just a dangerous team, oh, they might win the AFC North, or oh, they might win a playoff game or two. No, this could be a Super Bowl contending football team if Andy Dalton can play with the consistency that we saw on Sunday. Now, he needs to anticipate more. We know you don't have the strongest arm, and some of those throws that he made in this game could have cost his team if not for the likes of A.J. Green, And look, boy, I tell you, A.J. Green is such a specimen. I love that guy, and he was big in this game. And if not for Andy Dalton not anticipating, if he could anticipate, I tell you what, Adriel Jeremiah Green would have had over 200 yards receiving in this game. I mean, he was on fire in this game, but Andy couldn't get it to him. He has to work on his anticipation. Look, timing is everything when you don't have arm strength. Andy knows that. I expect the Red Rifle to get better, but they performed in this game. They got it done 24-21. They're now 5-2 on the season. Bears are 4-3. Lions don't get it done. A prime opportunity to stay atop that NFC North division. They fall to 4-3 as well, and that opens the door for the Packers, who took care of the Cleveland Browns. They're now 4-2, and now they're in first place by their lonesome. So some things were shuffled up in that NFC North division in week number 7. You look at another game, rivalry game, Steelers, Ravens. Steelers get it done at home. in 1916. Steelers were winning the whole entire game. They allowed the Ravens to hang around. And this is what this rivalry is. It's going to be nip and tuck. It's going to be close. It's going to come down to the end, final possession of the game. Nothing changed. Even though the records aren't what we're used to, it all remains the same in this rivalry. Steelers, Ravens, down to the wire. Steelers are your victors in this game. They kick a game-winning field goal to go to 2-4 on the season. Big win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a lot of action from week number 7. Now, let's talk about some of these injuries. A lot of people got injured. This was not a week for the faint of heart. If your team suffered a substantial injury in this week that could cost you down the road, I feel bad for you. I feel for you. Like Shaka Khan, I feel for you. But I tell you what, it's the National Football League. Things happen. Next man up mentality must be adopted by these teams. Let's start with the Chicago Bears. We've seen this saga before. Jay Cutler gets injured, Bears go down, and they start losing football games. Will they be able to stand up and play good football in the absence of Jay Cutler? He's going to be gone a minimum of 4 weeks with a torn groin. So that's a tough break for the Chicago Bears. They also will be missing the services of linebacker Lance Briggs, and he's the heart and soul of that defense. He's going to be gone probably about 6 weeks. He's got a shoulder injury, and so the Bears are hurting right now. Charles Tillman, he's a little banged up. Don't know about his status, but they're a banged-up football team right now. They need guys to step up in the absence of Cutler and Briggs in these next couple of weeks to see if they can stay afloat in this NFC North division. Let's look at the Houston Texans. Arian Foster goes out with a hamstring injury. Really don't know his status right now, but it's not good. Anytime you start dealing with a hamstring and you're a running back, that's never a good look. So he's a guy that you need to keep an eye on. Brian Cushing seems to always be injured. He tears the LCL. He's going to be done for the season. He's just did a number on his knee in this game against the Chiefs. He's going to be done for the season as well. You look at the Indianapolis Colts, to me, probably the biggest loss of any team, any single player in week number 7. Reginald Wayne goes to scrape a Andrew Luck errant pass off the turf, tries to stop. His leg, it awkwardly lands in that turf. And I initially thought it was a hyperextension, turns out to be a torn ACL. He's done for the season. And this guy's an Ironman. He was looking to break the all-time consecutive games played streak from Tim Brown in this season at 199. He was looking to break that. He was at 196. He was going to break that this season. And now a guy who hasn't been injured in his entire career, now at age 34, has to try to battle back from an ACL tear. I feel really bad for Andrew Luck. I feel really bad for the Indianapolis Colts, but especially for Reginald Wayne. Speedy recovery, my friend. Good luck with that whole procedure. I expect him to come back. No one in the NFL works as hard as Reggie Wayne, and so I expect him to come back. I don't know if he'll be as good as he was before the injury, but I expect Reginald Wayne to give it a go sometime next season. But tough break for the Indianapolis Colts. That guy was the heart and soul of that wide receiving corps. He was the backbone of that offense, and he was a security blanket for Andrew Luck. Going to see how they try to circumvent that injury in Indianapolis. What about Nicholas Foles going down in Philadelphia? There was some talk about a quarterback controversy. That's unnecessary. He didn't play well against the Cowboys. Vic was going to be able to come back against the Giants. It was thought that he might have been able to play against the Cowboys, wasn't able to go. I think he'll be able to go against the Giants, and I think he's the better fit for that Chip Kelly offense. Anyhow, look for Vic to take back over the reins as the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. You look at some more injuries, and I'll tell you what, there was a bunch of injuries in week number 7. I mean, guys were falling left and right. And so I talked about Josh Freeman. He's got a concussion. He's not going to be able to play for the Vikings in week number 8. Looks like Christian Ponder is going to be back out there for the Minnesota Vikings. You look at Leon Hall, the cornerback, and to me, underrated. I think he's one of the better corners in the league. Cincinnati Bengals gone for the year, torn ACL, tough break for the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, this is a really good defensive football team, and he's part of the reason why they're that good, because he's able to lock up receivers on the outside. Now they're going to have to find a guy to step up. Someone like Dre Kirkpatrick, a guy that you drafted in the first round. Time to take the training wheels off of him and see if he can prove to pay dividends. You spent the first-round pick. It's time for him to yield first-round pick dividends for the Cincinnati Bengals. See if he can step up and help them out. But a lot of teams suffered some key injuries in week number 7. Hopefully your team was not among the walking wounded after week number 7. So let's take a short break. I'll come right back, and then we'll start looking at Thursday Night Football in week number 8 in the National Football League.
This isn't your average tequila. Distilled 5 times, bottled in pure crystal, and wrapped in satin. This is an experience of luxury for people who appreciate the finer things in life. Bonita Tequila is elegant, sophisticated, luxurious, worldly, refined, and beyond perfection. This is the exclusive drink of the modern sophisticated. Try Bonita Tequila, the ultimate tequila experience.
So you look at Thursday Night Football, Panthers and Bucks. Panthers traveling to Tampa Bay, family business, yada, yada, yada. But look, this game shouldn't be close. If the Panthers want me to take them seriously, go to Tampa Bay and put pressure on Mike Glennon, force him into some mistakes, turn them over, turn it into points, win this football game handily. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't a good team. They're very talented. They don't win football games because they're not disciplined and they're not a good football team. Carolina needs to go into Tampa Bay, handle business, and come out unscathed with a victory. And before I move on, Sam Bradford, big injury in week number 7 for the St. Louis Rams. And I want to talk about that Carolina Panthers-Rams game before I go on. Bradford goes down in the game. He tore his ACL. He's out for the season. Tough blow for them. They were playing good football. They felt confident about the fortunes of their season moving forward. And then he goes down. Now you're stuck in a rut. Now Kellen Clemens has to come in and be your starter. There's no winning with Kellen Clemens. And so tough break for the St. Louis Rams. But that was a chippy game. And anytime you get a Jeff Fisher coached team in a game, there's a propensity for some chippiness to come out. And that's what happened in this game. Steve Smith got into it with Janoris Jenkins. Harvey Dahl got into it with Mike Mitchell. Chris Long got tossed out of the game. It was a lot of craziness going on in that game. Very entertaining watch. But again, that's what you get from the St. Louis Rams. And we'll see them on Monday Night Football versus the Seattle Seahawks in a little bit of family business there. But there are not a lot of big matchups in week number 8. You look at the slate of games, and there's not a lot of matchups that you can pinpoint and say, hey, that's a huge matchup with huge implications. There are one or two, but in week 7, there are a lot of matchups that you really wanted to see. In week 8, this week is a so-so week, but let's talk about a few games that will have some implications. Dolphins at the Patriots. Big game. The Dolphins are on a 3-game losing streak, believe that streak is at 4, if I'm not mistaken. And so, no, they had a bye week. It's 3-3 for the Dolphins right now. They're on a 3-game skid, and they're looking to get off the schneid. And now they're going to New England. And this is a big matchup for so many different reasons. One, the Dolphins thought that maybe they could be the team that upstaged the Patriots this year, that passing of the torch. They were looking to take that baton away from the Patriots and take over as the AFC East champions. But after starting 3-0 and now dropping 3 straight with a home loss against the Buffalo Bills a week ago, what do you do if you're the Dolphins? You need this one. You need to be able to go to New England and get a win. The Patriots aren't playing that great of football. They got Gronk back in week 7, but they went to New York and lost to the Jets in a thrilling overtime football game. So I really don't know what to make of this game. I expect the Patriots to take care of business at home, but this has been a wacky season. You just never know. Maybe the Dolphins, out of nowhere, steps up, plays some big boy football, and gets it done on the road. Who knows? We'll see. It's a big game in the AFC East. That's for sure. You look at another huge matchup. Detroit at home versus the Dallas Cowboys. 2 4-3 football teams looking to do some damage. And this could have some far-reaching consequences later on in the season when we're talking about playoffs and maybe a wild card or something of that nature. This could be one of those tiebreakers that you look back on. And so if you're Detroit, you're at home. You let one slip away last week against Cincinnati. You can't afford to drop 2 straight at home. If you want to be a serious competitor in the NFC conference, you need to see that. That was an AFC game. You can get away with that one. This is an NFC game with far-reaching consequences. You need to take care of business at home. This Cowboys team has been decimated by injuries. They're banged up coming into this football game. You aren't the healthiest yourself, but you need to take care of business at home. Stafford has to step up. This running game has to get off the ground. They were stifled last week by the Cincinnati Bengals. They need to come back and have a bounce-back game versus the Dallas Cowboys and get it done. We'll see what happens because this Dallas Cowboys team has been resilient this year. Every time you think, hey, they've got some injuries, they might struggle, they find a way to get it done. And so we'll see if the Cowboys can take that act on the road. Once again, we're able to do that last week against Philadelphia. Now it's a different test in the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford, heavens to Megatron, and Reginald Bush and company are going to pose a different threat than the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see if Tony Romo and the Cowboys can get it done on the road. That should be a really good football game. You look at another interesting matchup. Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, coming off of their first loss of the season, are at home. They're welcoming Mike Shanahan back to Denver for the first time since he was exiled as Denver Broncos coach, as the Redskins and Robert Griffin III take their act on the road after scoring 45 points and notching their second victory of the season. Can the Redskins continue to play good football, go on the road, and upset the Denver Broncos? It's a tall task and a tall order to ask of a 2-4 football team, but it can be done. You've seen the blueprint for beating the Denver Broncos. Can the Redskins go out and execute that game plan? I don't know. We will see. But the Denver Broncos, I think they have been awakened by that loss to Indy. They realize now that they're not invincible. They're going to have to strap it up each and every week because of the way they've been playing football. They're everyone's Super Bowl now. And so they're going to get everyone's best shot. And they got to be ready each and every week. And I think that loss last week might have woke up possibly a sleeping giant. So we'll see if the Broncos bounce back in week 8 from their first defeat of the season. And so to me, those are your big matchups in week number 8. There are not a lot of them. There aren't many games that you can get really excited about. And so, you know what? We will see. Maybe there are going to be some surprises in week number 8. I'll tell you that much. There are going to be some games. And I think that the Cincinnati Jets game might be a little bit better than many people might think. You got the 4-3 New York Jets on the road against the 5-2 Cincinnati Bengals. Look, the Bengals have been lights out at home. They play really good defense. Anytime Geno Smith sees a elite caliber defense, he struggles. And so wouldn't be surprised on the road, Cincinnati and this top 10 defense going in there and really putting the clamps down on Geno Smith and forcing him into some mistakes if they don't beat the brakes off the Jets. I'd be very interested to see how this game unfolds, but there are not a lot of interesting matchups in week number 8. That is for certain. So we've already talked about week number 8, and we've talked about week number 7. Put a bow on that. Look forward to week number 8. Now, I think it's time for a nice, small mental snack. And the mental snack of today is coaches potentially on the hot seat. Okay, so we're at week number 8, which means we're getting closer and closer to the midway point of the season. Had some disappointing campaigns up until this point. Let's talk about a couple of coaches that could be on that proverbial hot seat, if you will. Okay, you got to start with Greg Schiano. 0-6, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another tough matchup. Panthers coming to town. Thursday night football for everyone to see. They're dysfunctional, and now it's going to be on national television. If this one gets out of hand, if the Carolina Panthers march into Tampa Bay and smack them around and give them the business, is Greg Schiano going to get fired during the season? I don't think so. I think that if the Bucs go 2-14, which they look to be on a crash course for, he could potentially get fired at the end of the season, because to me this team is too talented to be 2-14, to be 3-13, to be 1-15, which is what they look like they're heading for. But he might get another chance. Who's to say? I just don't think that a guy like Greg Schiano will work in the NFL. I've said this from day one. When you have this military type of approach to coaching, this isn't 1985. Guys don't respond well to that brand of coaching anymore. You can get away with that at the beginning, in the initial stages. And again, I thought this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team lacked discipline when he first got there. Raheem Morris was a player's coach type of guy. And so he was buddy-buddy with too many of the players. Guys started tuning him out. He didn't have enough of a firm grip on the team in terms of a disciplinary approach. And so guys started trampling all over Raheem Morris. He lost that team, and subsequently he was fired because of it. They needed discipline. In comes Greg Schiano, and he's this guy that's a stickler for discipline, and he's going to do it his way or it's the highway. And so, yeah, that's fine when you first get there. Then you got to ease up. Then you got to show the guys the lighter side of Greg Schiano. Problem is, there isn't a lighter side of Greg Schiano. This is how he is. That may work in the college ranks. It doesn't work in the pros. It grows very tired quick on players, and they start to tune you out after a while. I think he's reached that point in Tampa Bay, and this is going to probably manifest itself into a bad season that is going to continually get worse, and maybe even see him get fired at the end of the season. He's definitely on the hot seat, though. You look at another coach that has to be on the hot seat, Gary Kubiak. I mean, look, this was supposed to be Super Bowl or bust for the Houston Texans, and they're 2-5 right now. And they don't know what their quarterback situation looks like. Guys aren't getting any younger. You got to ask yourself, is he the man to take this team where they want to go? I mean, he could be one of these Tony Dungy type of coaches that gets the team right there on the cusp, and then you need another coach to come in and get the group over the hump. But I'm not sure if this situation is that or not, but I don't know. Maybe Gary Kubiak isn't the man for the job. Who knows? I think he's on the hot seat, however. When your team underachieves the way this Houston Texans team is underachieving with all the talent that they have, I don't know who else you can put the blame on other than the coach. You look at another coach that could be on the hot seat, and I really don't think that he's on the hot seat per se, but after starting the season 3-1, you get an injury to your quarterback. These next 4 or 5 weeks for the Tennessee Titans and Mike Munchak are huge, because you start out 3-1, everything is sweet in Tennessee. Jake Locker goes down, and you lose 3 consecutive football games. Now you have a bye week. You need to take the time in this bye week to get this ship right and come back and start playing winning football after this bye. If they reel off another 3 losses after this bye and they find themselves at 3-7, I don't know about Mike Munchak. Remember, he was retained by the skin of his teeth in the offseason. So the rope was already short coming into this season. They started off good, and so that might have bought him a little bit of time. That might have lengthened his rope a little bit. But you start losing football games, I don't know. With Bud Adams passing away and someone else being the new man in charge, they could do away with Mike Munchak and want to start anew in Tennessee. So I don't know, but Mike Munchak could definitely be a coach on the hot seat. So to me, those are the coaches that look like they're on the hot seat right now. And there might be a couple more that are out there that I didn't mention, like a Leslie Frazier. But I feel like everyone that I mentioned are the coaches that right now to me are the hottest on their seats. Everyone else, I feel like maybe it's lukewarm. Maybe the seat is starting to heat up, but it's not hot yet. For the rest of the league, I think you've got time. But for those 3 coaches in particular, I think now is the time. Now or never. And you got to start winning football games to secure your spot on your football team. So That's going to do it for the Week 8 edition of Pro Football Central Weekly. I thank you for joining me. And, of course, I can't go without the shameless plug. Visit the site, profootballcentral.com. You're looking for print articles, profootballcentral.com. You're looking for podcasts for any team in the National Football League, profootballcentral.com. Profootballcentral.com is the place if you're looking for NFL content. You'll find it all here on the site, profootballcentral.com. So, for myself and the profootballcentral.com staff, remember, we are Pro Football Central. I say adios till week number 9. Enjoy the action. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. And we'll come back and we'll break it all down next week. See you then.